Hey everybody, Trace Perot here. I'm just starting another video for the week, and I'm happen to be just coming back from the store. So I'm munching on big mushrooms and peppers. These peppers are so sweet. And these mushrooms are so good. I eat mushrooms every day. Anyways, just wanted to share one snack that you can do as a raw vegan, especially around dinner time or just before dinner time as I'm talking with my mouth full of food. Hello everybody, Trace Perot. This is my station 20 at 70, which I created because I feel like I'm 20 at 70. And that's because I have been 80-10-10er, which is a low-fat raw vegan for the last 15 years. 15 years prior to that, I was a high-fat raw vegan. And before that, I was a vegetarian. Before that, I ate standard American diet. Fortunately, I don't do that anymore. Anyways, the topic of this particular video is the question, is being a raw vegan easy or is it difficult? And are there any specific problems with it? I decided on this topic because I happened to be watching a video of Doug Graham. And he kind of made the statement that being a raw vegan it can be very difficult, because you're keeping track of all these foods, all these different fruits and vegetables, and when they get ripe, and all this kind of stuff. And I really have never had a problem with it. I would say that it's much easier than doing a standard American diet. I mean, there's certain things you have to do. My baseline is to make sure that I buy at least 40 pounds of bananas every week, and that those come to ripen at the proper time. So usually I buy 20 pounds of ripe bananas and 20 pounds of semi-green bananas. I also keep probably 20 pounds of bananas frozen in case I run out, because like this winter, for 2 or 3 weeks in Hawaii, you are very hard pressed to find a ripe banana. So that means you have to resort to going to a health food store, buying things like dates and figs, and and then you got to soak the figs and the raisins, and you got to soak the raisins, and because they're much easier to digest and they taste better if they've been soaked, and so you got to kind of go through that. So I would say, if you get these basic things down, like, purchasing the sweet fruit, it's going to be bananas 9 times out of 10. And making sure you have enough greens for the whole week, or buying them periodically through the week, So there's some basics that I always get. There's bananas, greens, lettuce of various kinds, maybe kale. I buy beets because I shred my beets into my salad, and then I use the beet greens for these lovely red smoothies. I buy any other kind of fruit that's ripe and not too expensive. Of course, there's a lot of fruit in Hawaii, so that includes rambutans, and of course I harvest mame zapotes and lilikoi and Rollinia and chico zapote and aki, and there's several other fruits that star fruit, star apples. So there's all kinds of fruit here that you can get either in the market or off your property if you have fruit trees. So, that's kind of nice because that connects you with nature. I don't see that as a problem. I don't see it as particularly difficult. So I really don't see that there's a lot of difficulty about it, especially in the physical, actual food realm. I don't think it's that difficult. Now, I've done it on the mainland. I did it for several years. I would usually wind up going to 2 or 3 stores a week. You can basically be raw vegan at a Safeway. Right? I mean, they've got lots of organic stuff. You're probably paying a premium for it, but, you could go to Safeway. You could only go to Safeway every week, as long as you purchased a multitude of bananas for a couple weeks in advance so they ripen, because their bananas are never ripe. But so it's not that big of a deal. So let's go into some other areas. Let's go into social area. Are there problems with socializing? Well, not really. I mean, you're not going to be going out to restaurants a lot. I mean, I rarely ever eat out. I mean, if I do eat out, the easiest thing to do is just an order a salad. But, you can't count on one hand a restaurant that serves organic, lettuce and organic vegetables and whatnot in their salads. So I don't go out a whole lot. Sometimes I'll just go out with somebody and drink juice or something, right? Or take an avocado with me and order something or whatever, I'll just kind of fake it. I've never really felt uncomfortable when I was with my family, all of whom eat a standard American diet. On the holidays, I just go down to a local health food store, and I purchase a bunch of stuff for dinner, and I bring it in and I make it. And I eat it right along with the rest of my family members, and that's that. It doesn't make me feel awkward. It doesn't make me feel out of place or anything. In fact, the only emotions I have about that is I regret that it's impossible to convince anybody in your family to be a raw vegan. So don't even try. It's a funny thing about raw vegans is that it's nearly impossible to convince their family members to be raw vegan, and you're considered kind of like the food black sheep of the family. No problem, that just means you're going to be free of all the health problems that are eventually going to catch up with them. So I just don't see a lot of problems. When you're first starting out, you're so used to the complexities of the standard American diet, okay? Like being in line, having to go to McDonald's and sit in a car, or deciding what box of food to buy and all this kind of stuff. I mean, and you get a taste for all that. And of course, you're going to have some trouble breaking away from all of that, especially, if you've been standard American diet all your life, you're indoctrinated. There's a big veil over your face. You really don't register what's actually going on with the food you eat. Which brings me to a point that I wanted to make about that, which is I'm just writing. I take notes on my phone during the week as far as what I may want to say if I do a video. And what I wrote down here is I said, you need to know about food. You need to know what you are doing at any one time with food. I mean on a cellular level, on an energetic level, on a digestive level, on a toxic level, on a physical level, a psychological level, and an emotional level. So, you really do need to reflect on what you're doing on all these different levels. And the more you do that, the more you're going to reinforce your ability to remain a raw vegan if you have a problem with that, to become a raw vegan if you're thinking about that. It's kind of hot in Hawaii, so, it's April, it's like 80 degrees outside, it's overcast and a little bit humid, so, clothes are like, clothing optional. So anyways, yeah. I have found a little bit of a problem when it comes to partnering up with somebody. So I just broke up with my girlfriend of about a year or two, I forget, off and on for a year or two. She was not a raw vegan. She wasn't even a vegan, actually. As I found out later, I thought she was a vegan because we never went out or anything. But the main problem there was this woman was in her early 60s. And she had some issues from a car accident she had when she was like very young, and the ongoing lifetime issues. In any event, um, she did not have a lot of energy, right? So that was kind of a big problem because I'm bouncing off the walls, and with a sex drive of a 20-year-old, and here's a 60-year-old woman, and she's like, it's not like I'm 30 anymore. Well, bye bye. I mean, so that can be a bit of a problem, especially if you're like looking for a partner and you're over, you're like 70 years old, like I am, and you want to, you're probably going to stay somewhere in your age range, right? But you're going to find out that women over the age of 40 who are on a standard American diet or even a vegetarian diet just don't have any energy. They don't have the energy, right? I mean, it's, so like, forget it. I don't even want to go there anymore. I'm looking for a partner that's like 30. you know. And there you won't find a lot of raw vegans in a place like Hawaii. I mean, and there's not a lot of social outlets. I rarely ever meet a raw vegan. I have sort of, developed a friendship with one woman who's like in her 40s, who is a raw vegan, but she's not an 80-10-10er. So I haven't really delved into how she maintains her energy level, but I do get a sense that it's rather limited. At any event, so there might be a problem there. If you're not hooked up with a bunch of raw vegans, either living with them or in an online community or some kind of social group or potluck or whatever, you're just not going to run into them on the street. I mean, very rare. At any rate, any other problems? I'm sure I'll think of something, but I did want to touch on, since I am a raw vegan, an 80-10-10er, and I assume that most of the people watching these videos are either doing that or they're high raw vegan or they're vegetarian and they're, trying to explore what raw vegan is all about. So I'm just going to share a few developments in my life, because that's kind of what this is all about. If you've been raw vegan for 30 years, I guess you're going to have developments in your life that are kind of unusual, but I just sort of want to make statements about how I'm handling them. And that might be a reflection of the fact that I'm, an 80-10-10er and I have a certain lifestyle that I live. So the first thing is what? The partnering. Well, I already mentioned that. I already got into that. So, I'm looking for a partner. And there are certain limitations, like if I wanted, I speak Spanish, so I wouldn't mind partnering up with somebody who spoke Spanish. But, I can go on the, I can, what do they call them? Mail order brides, right? I wouldn't mind getting, married. I'm kind of tired of being, on the lam, being single, whatever. So I can go looking for a mail order bride from somewhere in Latin America, But what are the chances of them even being a vegetarian? It's just so slim, So you got to look at these things and figure you're going to have to indoctrinate somebody into this, right? Because you don't want somebody cooking, dead animal carcasses in your kitchen. So, anyways, I'll keep you updated on how that develops. So I'm also moving. So right now I'm living on a farm, a 3-acre farm. It's absolute paradise. I mean, the place is so beautiful. It's got quite a few fruit trees. I mean, I couldn't live off the land at this place, but it's nice to have that supplement. So it's got a lot of nice fruit trees like Mamey Sapote and Rollinia and stuff like that, But the owner wants to turn it into this kind of woofing situation, so she wants to take the Ohana that I'm in and turn it into a common area for woofers who are going to be out on the property in tents or cabins or whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure how she's going to get woofers onto this property, because she's pretty rigorous about, demands and stuff like that. Anyways, whatever. So anyways, I'm moving. Fortunately, her boyfriend has a property out in Kalapana, and so I've decided to take that. So I'm definitely going to move. It is a completely different situation. It's not in the jungle. It's out on a lava flow. It's in a community, and it's built on an old lava flow. So it's very open. There's no fruit trees. There's a little bit of cultivation like lilikoi, and you can grow tomatoes and whatnot, peppers and things like that, because there's a lot of sunshine. And it's fairly close to the ocean. There's a constant ocean breeze, so that's a trade-off. So anyways, yeah, I'm picking up stakes. I mean, I've been in this place for 2 years. I absolutely love it. It's like paradise. But I have no choice. I have to move on. Fortunately, I have lots of energy. I can handle that. I can do that. And there are some advantages to that. One is it's like twice as big as the place I'm in now. And so I'm going to be able, it's got a very big multi-purpose like sunroom. And I'm going to be able to set up a music and art studio, which I can't do in my present situation. It's just too tight. So that's a beneficial thing. I need to get down and start recording my original music, and start painting again. So now I'm going to have this huge, big, open, sunny space where I can do that. So I'm quite happy about that. I'm going to miss the fruit trees, but the jungle's not too far away, and there are actually a lot of vendors in this area that just stop on the roadside and set up a stand, and they sell bananas and papayas and all these different kinds of fruit that go around here. And so I think it'll be beneficial. And also it's about the same distance to the main little town here, which is Pahoa. So I'm not moving any further away, right? And if I choose to ride my bike in, it's 8 or 9 miles, or I can take the bus. The bus comes through 3 times a day. So all that's looking pretty good. It's not too far from a place called Space, which is a bunch of creative people who do different things, have different events and have markets and all that stuff. It's also close to a place called Uncle Robert's, which is like a Hawaiian-owned, sort of touristy, but not really, kind of outpost, and there's a lot of music events and stuff like that, so maybe I can get going with getting a gig there or something. And last but not least, it's not very far from the clothing optional beach, Kahena, which is a black sand beach. And I'm all for that. I'm all for being out in the sun naked, So, yeah, all that's looking pretty good. So what else? So I'm not sure, the situation there is I would like to get a roommate because it's going to cost me a couple $100 more a month. But I don't have to work. I don't have to put 20 hours of work trade in. Okay, so I'm going to have a lot more free time to do the music and the art, but I do have to pay a little bit more money. But it's so big that I can get an actual roommate. And since I'm only there 4 days a week, the roommate's going to have the weekend, actually Thursday through Monday morning, it's going to have the place all to themselves. So if there's anybody here listening to this video and they're interested in checking the situation out, send me an email. I think you can go to my website, my creative website, which is listed on my Instagram account. So speaking of Instagram, well, at any rate, get in touch with me and, work it out, because I definitely am not interested in having anybody but a vegan. You don't have to be 80-10-10, but you do have to be vegan. You can cook food all day long. I don't care. It does not tempt me. It does not pull me off my 80-10-10 regime. So, so just try and get in touch with me. I'll leave the information on the video, contact information. Speaking of Instagram, I'm at 20 at 70 raw vegan. That's 20AT70 raw vegan. So if you search for that, you'll find my Instagram account. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I'm starting to get into recording, and I'm doing this kind of humorous little series called "Pretending I'm from Texas." Okay, so at one point in my music career, I got into writing country and western songs, and some of them are pretty humorous. But anyways, I am doing little videos of different songs, and they're kind of fun. So if you want to laugh, check it out on my Instagram account, which is 20 at AT70 raw vegan. What else? Some other things going on in my life. Well, my band is definitely coming around. I've got a couple of different bands going on. I do not have an original band at this point because I found it extremely difficult to convince other musicians to play original music. Although I've done it in the past a lot in conjunction with cover songs or whatever. If I do a solo gig, I can do all kinds of original music. Nobody cares. They love it. So that's working out good. But at any rate, I've just found it easier that in terms of making money at this point, it's easier to do something conventional. So one of my bands is a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers tribute band. So if you were born in the 60s or 70s, you know who Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were. They were probably one of the most popular bands since the Beatles. Tom Petty had his band together for 40 years. So I did not grow up listening to Tom Petty. In fact, I didn't really pay attention to him or even know really who he was until about 3 years ago when this friend of mine started playing Tom Petty songs. And everybody would really like them when he did play them, and they would dance and they would have fun. So I thought, down the road I should start a Tom Petty tribute band, which I like to do anyways because I like to concentrate. I don't like to jump all over the place, So right now we've got about 20 of his songs down pat. We have a full band. It's a full 5-piece band. And we're playing every week in a nightclub in Poho, a small nightclub. And we're getting ready to start farming it out, trying to make some money. I mean, it's going to be a great thing. Nobody's doing anything like it. And of course, this is all extra raw vegan world stuff, All of the band members are, none of them are vegetarians, right? Most of the audience is very conventional. They have nothing to do with raw food or raw vegan food or vegetarian food. I mean, this is all standard American diet stuff. Which I don't really care. I mean, I don't preach to them. They don't preach to me. I go do my thing. The fact of the matter is that you could not pull this off unless you had the kind of energy that I have because I'm a low-fat raw vegan. So, that being said, that's going very well. It's a lot of fun. It's very educational because when you really study somebody who was so successful as a songwriter, you learn what they did, how they did it, right? In terms of songwriting. So you learn about how you can write songs being popular. Just so happens that Tom Petty did have his moon in Pisces astrologically, which I also have. I also have my moon in Pisces. And Tom Petty was also a Libra, and Libra is ruled by Venus, and I'm a Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus. So there was a lot of commonalities, and one of the things about Pisces is that Pisces are known to have their, I would say, finger on the pulse of popularity, right? So somebody with a moon in Pisces, like Tom Petty or myself, has really just a built-in ability to write things that are popular with people, with a wide variety of audience. So anyways, so that's going really well. And the other band is sort of at an initiation stage. It's a Stevie Ray Vaughan / other blues, but primarily Stevie Ray Vaughan blues band, doing mostly Stevie Ray Vaughan material. So I'm the lead guitarist and the singer, so I'm imitating Stevie Ray Vaughan. And this is also an incredibly educational endeavor, because I've always been a guitar player. I've played since I was 5 years old. And I have my own style, but it's very interesting, like Picasso used to do. Picasso would take other artists and he would study their work, and then he would interpret their work, right? So it's the same principle. I'm studying Stevie Ray Vaughan, I'm learning his tricks, I'm learning his songs, but I'm not copying him note for note. I am imitating his energy to a certain extent, and but I'm interpreting his solo work, his music. So incredibly powerful, incredibly interesting, and it's already made me a hugely more proficient guitarist. Anyway, so that's kind of what's going on in my life at this point. And hopefully I impressed you with how being a raw vegan affects these things in your life, these developments, these changes, etc., etc. The next thing I wanted to do is, I just happened to be watching this video by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. Okay, I'm sure you've all heard of him. He's very educated. He's very intelligent. Has great insight. He is a doctor, and I've found that there are limitations with doctors when it comes to what they wind up believing, what they wind up endorsing. So he is a cooked vegan. Okay. And I was watching one of his videos in which he gives this incredibly intelligent, insightful analysis of actually the whole eating scenario, the whole SAD scenario, and what's actually happening psychologically and emotionally and physically with people on a standard American diet versus a cooked vegan diet. Okay. He does not go into raw food, and what I found is these plant-based presenters, especially the doctors, because they rely on science and studies, there are two things they never address. One is raw food. Very rare that they ever even mention it, except as an adjunct to their cooked vegan meals. And the other thing is food combining. So, using deductive reasoning, I'm sure this is because most of their information comes from studies, either studies that they've read or studies and experiments that they have performed. Okay, so I don't think there's ever been a study on food combining, So I don't think you're going to find any medical people that are even aware of it, right? And it's definitely the most fundamental thing in terms of eating, food consumption, that there is. There's nothing more fundamental than knowing about food combining. And every dietary change that somebody makes should always be checking in with food combining. The other thing is raw food. I don't think there's been any studies about long-term raw foodists. There haven't been that many long-term raw foodists, So I just wanted to point out that fact that although he is very insightful and very interesting to listen to, he's written 12 books. He's been on the New York Times bestseller list 7 times. Yet he has absolutely not an inkling about the benefits of raw food. So I wrote as a comment on his video, I'll read it to you. We love Dr. Fuhrman's insight and intelligence, but it is amazing how the MD the medical doctor plant-based presenters, virtually all of them say nothing and perhaps nothing about the next level benefits of a totally raw diet and the principles of proper food combining. I think this is because they are there are no studies about these aspects, and I'm sure that these doctors are shortening their own lifespans as well as missing out on the life enhancements of such a regime. We cannot overlook that and this video that I watched was all about the addiction of standard American diet. So it was all about food addictions. So the last part of the comment just says, we cannot overlook that cooked food, be it vegan or SAD, is an addiction in and of itself. So here we have a doctor going into in-depth analysis about food addictions, and coming to the conclusion that 99% of the people out there, all of whom are eating standard American diets, are actually in the throes of addiction. And I've always maintained this because if you take a heroin addict of 20 years and somebody that eats an SAD of 20 years, the detrimental effects on the person that eats SAD are greater than the 20-year heroin addict, without a doubt. I mean, you can be a weekend heroin addict for years and years and years and years and not nearly suffer the problems of somebody who is a chronic standard American diet consumer, right? So it is an addiction. And and he makes a great point that if you are overweight, okay, you are an addict of some sort, because this is not the normal state of human beings. And I thought that was very good to point out. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. So anyways, now I would like to venture off. I'd like to follow up on the whole bit that I started about astrology. So if you're totally turned off to astrology, you can tune out now. But I'll tell you right now that astrology is to psychology what low-fat raw vegan is to standard American diet. You can't really be a competent psychologist, in my opinion, in the present day without actually being an astrologer. So I'll just leave that, and I will add that it's been my experience that virtually everything that you do, say, all the actions you take, all your opinions, all your outlooks, your style of living, everything is a direct result of your astrological makeup. And so that point alone should make it worthwhile for you to delve in. To follow me, come along with me on this little journey as I unveil for you my approach to what I call cosmic programming. So last video, I brought up the idea of masculine, positive, and feminine, negative. So we've taken the zodiac, consists of 12 signs, we've cut it down the middle, not literally because the signs are kind of mixed up, but 6 of the signs are positive masculine, 6 of the signs are negative feminine. Based on the idea of, the theory of opposites. You can't have hot without cold or whatever. So if you want a little bit more information about that, just watch the last video I did. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to construct the astrological being from the bottom up. So I'm doing that by taking the circle of the zodiac and cutting it in different slices, what I call the pie. So that positive, negative, masculine, feminine, that was cutting the pie in half, okay? And what that allows you to do is every person that you come in contact with, every person on the planet, including yourself, is going to have one of these orientations, either positive masculine or negative feminine. I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but if you're a female and you have a positive masculine sign, you're going to display a lot of masculinity in your style, in your psyche. and if you're a male, and like I am, and I'm a negative feminine, Taurus, earth sign, you're going to have a considerable amount of feminine traits. So that being said, just go back and look at the other video and I'll explain it. So we've got the pie cut in half, all right? So now we're going to, and this gives you the basic psyche orientation of an individual. So the next level is we're going to cut the pie into thirds, okay? The three sections of this pie, of the astrological chart, okay, consists of the types of signs. You know, everybody has an astrological sign according to when they're born. And each one of these signs is a particular type, okay? And the types are three. They're the following. They are the cardinal sign, the cardinal signs, of which there are three. There are the nurturing or fixed signs, of which there are three. And there are the mutable signs, of which there are three. So there's three of each. Or no, I should say there's four of each. I'm sorry. There's 4, 8, 12. So there's 12 signs. So there's 4 of each type of sign. So cardinal, fixed, and nurturing. The easiest way to explain this, okay, is to have a situation in which you are entering into a business. So the person initiating or leading the opening of this business, we'll call him the CEO or whatever, is going to be a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs are natural leaders. They are initiators, okay? So in this scenario, the cardinal sign would be at the head of the helm, would be initiating. We're going to make widgets, and this is how we're going to do it, and this is, you know, this is where we're going with it, this is where we're going to market it, and this is how we're going to, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he's going to be the head of the helm, right? So he's going to initiate it. The fixed signs are going to be the ones that actually make the widgets, okay? They're going to be taking these widgets from start to finish as a product, okay? So far you have an initiator, the person starting and leading the project. You have a fixed sign that's going to make the widgets from start to finish. And you're going to have a, and then what comes into the picture is the mutable sign, okay? The mutable sign is going to sell the product, okay? So let me explain that a little bit. We've already gone over the cardinal sign. Now the fixed signs are nurturers, okay? I'm a fixed sign. So I know, you know, I know this is totally accurate. We tend to work on something to nurture it, to take it from start to finish. Like my band project, I'm nurturing it along. I'm not necessarily the great leader of the band. I actually have 2 other cardinal signs in the band. But I'm not a cardinal sign, so I'm not actually, you know, the out front leader. I'm the front man. I'm I nurture the project along. But when it comes to push and shove, I've got other people who are providing some leadership in the band. Not to say that I can't be a leader in this situation, and I am to a certain extent, but I'm primarily a nurturer. So I'm taking the project and I'm developing it and taking it from start to finish. The third sign, the mutable sign, is a sign that works primarily with information. Okay, so that's why they're the ones that are going to sell the widgets, because they're going to gather all the information and they're going to transfer it to other individuals. All right, they're going to do the sales, they're going to do the marketing and all that kind of stuff. So this gives you an idea of how the types of signs are broken down in astrology, or what I call cosmic programming. Then it's a matter of just learning these signs, learning what signs are what, okay? So what you have in the cardinal signs are, and this is starting from the beginning of the zodiac, are Aries, the cardinal fire sign, and we'll get into elements next because that's very important. And there are 4 elements, so at that point we're going to cut the pie into quarters. Okay, right now we're sticking with thirds. So there's Aries, the fire sign leader. There's Cancer, the emotional cardinal, the cardinal sign, water sign leader. There is Libra, which is the air sign leader, cardinal sign, and there's Capricorn. So those are the 4 cardinal signs. You'll more than likely find these people always in leadership positions. Okay, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Now, just as an aside, the practicality of this is tremendous because if you get in a group of people or a company, an employment situation, or even a social situation, if you know what people's signs are and you know who the cardinal signs are, they're going to be displaying leadership qualities. All right, so already you're one step ahead of the game. All right, because if all of a sudden you have somebody in a group who's a dynamic leader and obviously knows how to initiate things, you're not going to second guess them, right? You know, you're going to say, okay, this is the leadership sign. This is what their orientation is. Their function is to initiate. So let's take them seriously as initiators, evaluate where they're going, and see if we want to go along with them. But they're not going to be the people actually doing, you know, that involved in nurturing the project along or selling it. They're going to be initiating it. So you can imagine the advantage of that in any situation of just knowing that. Okay, so the fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Okay, so these 4 signs are the nurturers of the zodiac. If you're interested in this and you're following, you just want to, you know, find out what other people's signs are when you can, and sort of notice what they're doing and how they're going about it. And you'll start to pick up on this, right? So if you're confronted with a fixed sign and you're looking for somebody to take your project from the beginning to the end, you know you've got somebody right there in front of you, you know, who can do it. So fixed signs are nurturers. And then if we move on to the 3rd sign, which is the mutable sign, they're people primarily dealing with information. These people are Geminis. Virgo is a mutable sign. Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign. And Pisces, the mutable water sign. So there you have it. Those are the 4 types of signs. If you are in a group of people and you know everybody's sign, or even a few people, just kind of notice what they're doing, how they're doing it, you know, and you'll start to get an idea of how this whole symmetry of cosmic programming plays out in your everyday life. And believe me when I tell you, this is going to be invaluable to you. This kind of information is invaluable. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go into the usual astrological BS. I find it all extremely complicated. If it's not complicated, these astrologers that you come in contact with will make it complicated, okay? And I totally rebel against all of that because many times I've listened to an astrologer for an hour and a half and walked away with either absolutely nothing of practical value or one little idea that could have been expressed at the very beginning of the video and could have saved me, you know, an hour and a half. I just find this to be the case, and I think astrology is completely off on a tangent, right? They're totally hung up in this idea of predicting things. I won't say there isn't any value in studying things like transits, you know, good times to do this and good times to do that. There is, but I haven't yet discovered an easy way to, first of all, become aware of those transits on a personal level, and then to express them in a way that will be easy for people to assimilate. So, that being said, here's where we are. Anyways, I was briefly interrupted there by a friend of mine who just got out of the hospital because she had diverticulitis. She claims that her family, it's inherited through her family. Of course, my inclination was to say, well, listen, honey, it's not, you're not inheriting the disease. What you're inheriting is the way that your family eats, right? Because diverticulitis, which is like a perforation of the lining of your gut, is totally due to what you eat. At any rate, I'm not going to go there because she's a local, and I've already introduced to her my ideas, but they didn't take. So, what can you do? Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, okay. So where we are with our psychological, cosmically programmed individual that we're building here is we've got him or her either positive, masculine, or negative, feminine. I'll use myself as an example. So, at the most basic level, I'm negative feminine. The next level, I'm a Taurus. I'm a fixed sign. Okay, so the next level on our cosmic construction is what type of sign you are, not necessarily what sign you are, although you have to know what sign you are to know the type, but basically the type of sign you are. So that's easy to figure out. You just Google it on the internet, right? So I'm a fixed sign. Okay, so that's what we have so far in my case. I have negative feminine polarity, and I'm a fixed sign. Okay, so so that's the construction that we're making, and there is a tremendous amount of stuff that you all know about me, or that can be known about me, just getting that first and second level of information. So we're going to take this to 9 or 10 levels. So you can imagine how much you're going to be able to tell about somebody just by asking them what day of the year they were born. Not the year, not how old they are, or not the time that they were born, but just the day of the year. Okay, you're going to be able to have an encyclopedic knowledge of this person just from that. Okay, and what you're going to be able to do, the whole point of this is to increase your understanding of other human beings. Okay, so that's what I'm into. I want people to understand each other because it's easier to get along. Okay, and it's easier to accomplish things, to reach your goals. It's easier to avoid negative, volatile situations if you know these things about people. You're going to have an easier time at work. You're going to have an easier time socializing. Okay, you're going to understand why you like a particular artist over another artist, or why you like a particular type of art over another art. So you're going to know all this stuff. So I highly recommend that you keep tuning in, and I'm going to just keep developing this over time. Once again, this is Trace Perot. This is my YouTube station 20 at 70. I'm also on Instagram, which is 20at70 raw vegan. I will try to be putting these out every week so we can develop this cosmic man or woman, and so that you can acquire a fundamental knowledge of our connection to the universe. Anyways, hope I got good points for you all, and be sure you go to my Instagram account, check out my I'm from Texas series. It's quite entertaining, I think, and that's that. Have a good one.